Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, please have a seat. First, let's thank Fordham University very much for their hospitality and opening their doors. Let's give them a round of applause. To the greatest environmentalist on planet Earth, Vice President Al Gore. Oh, you can do better than that. Vice President Al Gore. I will have more to say about the Vice President in a moment. We also have with us today a good friend, Al Gore III is here. Where are you, Al? There he is. Stand up and let us give you a round of applause. We have Alicia Barton from NYSERDA who's here. Let's give her a round of applause. All the members of the Senate and the Assembly who worked so hard on this bill, let's give them a round of applause. Let me say this. As governor, I have been blessed to be able to sign many new laws that are national precedents, and we started many new programs that are national precedents. But we have made remarkable progress on a large number of issues, as the people in this room know. But I think today, and the matters we discuss today and the actions we take today will indeed be the most consequential of my administration. The environment and the climate change are the most critically important policy priorities we face. They literally will determine the future or the lack thereof. Now, a complicating factor is that these pressing issues must be addressed at a time in which emotion and partisanship rule this nation over logic and fact. But even in this chaos of political pandering and hyperbole, there are still facts, data, and evidence. And climate change is an undeniable scientific fact, period. To deny climate change is to deny reality. All credible scientists agree. Yet the President of the United States denies it. Why? Because it is not politically convenient for him to acknowledge the reality. Fossil fuels represent major industries in this country, and because change is hard and change causes disruption, and the political system abhors disruption. But despite the President's denial of the obvious, the American chorus demanding acknowledgement of the climate crisis is now deafening. And we are overpowering the forces that are vested in the status quo. And that's what today is all about. But it's not enough to just demand change. A true progressive policy requires even more. My father, God rest his soul, used to say, we need policies that don't just sound good, but policies that are good and sound. Cries for a new green movement are hollow political rhetoric if not combined with specific aggressive goals and a realistic plan on how to achieve them. And that is much easier said than done. But that, my friends, is the challenge for our great state of New York. To lead not just with rhetoric, but with results. In a few minutes, I will sign the most aggressive climate law in the United States of America. Thank you. The New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act requires that we achieve a cleaner, greener, carbon-neutral economy. The law requires that 70% of our electricity comes from renewables by 2030 and 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. By 2050, we will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by an overall 85%, with a new climate council established that will offset the remainder to make New York a 100% carbon-neutral economy, period. I want to thank all the people who worked so hard to make this bill a reality. I want to thank Vice President Al Gore and his organization for lobbying for this bill's passage. You did the right thing, and thank you. Now, signing this law is an historic and a vital step, but we must execute also, especially when the goals we set may outlast the tenure of some of the people setting the goals. That is not to say that I don't intend to be governor in 2050. I do. But some of the other state officials may not be around. So government's challenge is to also implement the plan. Implement the plan today that will make those goals a reality tomorrow. And that is the art form, to develop a sustainable, achievable environmental agenda that does not disrupt our economy, but rather grows and enhances our economy. The Green New Formula must first set out an ambitious goal. Second, develop a realistic plan to reach that goal. Third, attract and incubate the businesses that will effectuate that economic transformation. And finally, train the workforce that those businesses will rely upon. And that's going to be the workforce of tomorrow. That is our New York agenda. And that is why our Green New Deal is the real deal, my friends. Today, we signed the bill into law, and we announced major steps forward in realizing the goals set by the law. In fact, we're going to take greater steps forward today than any state has taken to date. We will lead the way in developing the largest source of offshore wind power in the United States of America. We have committed to building 9,000 megawatts of wind power capacity, and we start today by designating companies to build 2 offshore wind farms for a combined total of 1,700 megawatts of clean energy. Now, 1,700 megawatts is enough to power over 1 million homes. For scale, the Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant is 2,000 megawatts. The first project is the Sunrise Wind Project. It's in an offshore area 30 miles east of Long Island. It will be developed by Ørsted, a Danish company, and Eversource. It will provide 880 megawatts feeding Long Island, and Long Island needs that power, and it needs it today. The second project is the Empire Wind Project, located 14 miles southeast of Manhattan, which will be developed by Equinor, a Norwegian company. It will develop 816 megawatts, and it will feed New York City. That is step number one and number two. Number three is that we're going to invest $287 million to construct manufacturing, service, and port facilities right here in the great state of New York, in Port Jefferson, Brooklyn, Staten Island, in the capital region. These projects will help make New York the hub for this growing, exciting, necessary future industry. And in addition, New York will provide $20 million to develop a state-of-the-art wind training program for the most highly trained workers of tomorrow. Our own State University of New York, our SUNY system, will lead the nation in this new job training opportunity. These projects will generate $3.2 billion in economic activity and generate 1,600 construction and permanent jobs, and the projects will have a union project labor agreement before they commence. And these are not just proposals. They're not just ideas. We don't do that here in New York. Our agenda reflects the urgency. The agreements we sign today will start moving on these projects now. The port upgrades will begin in 2020. Construction of the onshore facilities will begin in 2022. Offshore construction will begin in late 2022, and the projects will be completed by 2024. My friends, today we are true to the New York legacy, to lead the way forward, to govern with vision and intelligence, to set a new standard, and to match our words with action. We should all be proud. Congratulations to every person in this room. Congratulations to our Environment and Energy team, Commissioner Sagos and NYSERDA, and all the people who work so hard. We owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the people in this room for making New York the first in the nation to lead the way to a safer, greener, better, sustainable world. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. Now I have a special treat because we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to a leader who not only had the vision to see the problem on the horizon before anyone else, but he had the courage to speak truth to power, to put forth the inconvenient truth, and to dedicate his life to fighting the status quo and the entrenched powers which would resist and deny the inevitable. Yesterday, I spoke of Robert Kennedy and Mario Cuomo, progressives in the truest meaning of the term, leaders who went beyond symbolism and shibboleths to substance and action. Al Gore is in that progressive mold. I have worked with many government officials all across the globe. A small handful have inspired me. An even smaller handful I would consider mentors. And only a couple would I consider historic greats. Vice President Al Gore is an historic great. He truly is a leader for the ages. I'm fortunate to have served with him in the Clinton administration. I'm humbled to call him a mentor. and I'm honored to call him a friend. We all thank him profoundly for what he has done for New York State, for America, and for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Al Gore.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What an honor it is to be here with all of you and with you, Governor. This is an historic event, and I want to thank all of those who have had a part in making it possible, starting with Governor Cuomo, about whom I will also say more in a moment. Basil Seggos, DEC Commissioner, all of the folks with NYSERDA, all of the team members of the governor and DEC and NYSERDA and the other organizations that are involved here. Thank you, Governor, for acknowledging the Climate Reality Project. Tim Gunny is one of our members who is here. And indeed, it's true that we worked hard pushing for support of this legislation, but I don't want anybody to think for a moment that we're not keenly aware that we were only a tiny part of a very large coalition, a number of groups, many of them with more feet on the ground than we had here. And I want to thank the grassroots activists here in New York State and New York Renews, the coalition that has pushed so hard for this progress. You all did an incredible job, and I want to acknowledge that and give you my thanks. Personally, I'm real proud to have my son, Albert, here, and thank you for acknowledging him. He's part of this burgeoning clean energy sector of the economy, and I want to acknowledge with gratitude all of the companies that have played a role in helping to move this transition to carbon-free, safe, clean energy and the sustainability revolution that is creating so many millions of new jobs. The governor talked about all the jobs associated with these two amazing projects. Really, you combine them together, and it's the biggest offshore wind project ever in the history of North America. Quite an accomplishment. I'll come back to that in a moment. But we've seen solar. You know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, again, in its most recent report, pointed out that solar jobs are the fastest growing jobs in the United States of America, growing 6 times faster than the average job growth in the United States. And these are where the jobs of the future are coming. And the second fastest growing job is wind turbine technician. With these agreements today, they may, I don't know, he may change the order because they're, and if indeed New York State does become, and you've got this great vision, Governor, of not just the transition to clean, renewable energy, but also making New York State the construction and jobs hub for this fast-growing new industry of the future. This is really fantastic. So our transition away from the dirty and polluting ways of the past is absolutely essential to our survival, and for reasons well known to all of us here, it's not being led at the federal level at all, but thank goodness it is being led by New York State and others that have joined with the leadership of Governor Cuomo. In fact, right after the current president announced that he wanted to pull out of the Paris Agreement, Governor Cuomo took leadership immediately and joined with former Governor Jerry Brown and Governor Jay Inslee, and they formed this fantastic organization which now represents 60% of the population of the United States of America. And when you add in all of the cities and now counties in the states that are not formally part of that agreement, you're getting way on up there as a percentage of the U.S. population that is not only formally committed to Paris, but committed to going farther than that agreement. And of course, it's always worth reminding people that the way the Paris Agreement was written, and I know a little bit about how it was written, we can't, under international law and under U.S. law, the first day the U.S. can legally withdraw happens to be the day after the next presidential election. So there is that. We have that still in our hands, and you may know that under the terms of the agreement, if there is a new president, excuse me for a moment, then a new president could just give 30 days notice, and we're right back in that agreement. In the meantime, New York State's leading the way. Governor Andrew Cuomo is leading the way. The people of New York are leading the way, and God bless you. There's so much at stake. I mean, I'm not going to divert off into telling you yet again how dire the situation is, but it is. And by the way, it's getting worse. But we're gaining momentum. I started to say we're gaining on the crisis. We're not yet at that point, but if we keep gaining momentum, we will soon be gaining on the crisis. You know, the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, Norway's, that was funded 100% by oil and gas, just announced they're completely divesting 100% from oil and gas, and we're seeing a lot of others do the same thing. We're seeing, thanks to the business sector, which I referred to earlier, and the engineers and the scientists, we've seen the continuing cost reduction curve for renewable energy, electric vehicles, batteries, efficiency improvements, regenerative agriculture, sustainable forestry, circular manufacturing. Some of these sectors are moving faster than others, but we know what to do. And we also know that it's good for us for all kinds of reasons. It does create millions of new jobs. It does make the air easier and healthier to breathe. It does help communities of color and communities of the poor and disadvantaged. And you know, getting rid of the burning of fossil fuels, you know, one statistic that jumps out at me, I want to say to all the social justice organizations that have fought hard, didn't get everything, but you are on board, and God bless you for that. It is startling to me that in this United States of America, the number of African American children who die from asthma is 10 times greater than the number of Caucasian children that die from asthma. This is unacceptable, and that's only one of the statistics that illustrate why we have got to do better on environmental and climate justice. So all around the world, electricity from projects like the one these two agreements represent is now cheaper than electricity from burning fossil fuels. Almost everywhere, and soon it will be absolutely everywhere. We have seen for the last several years, for the last 9 years, the global investments in renewable energy has exceeded by an increasing amount each year, exceeded the investments in fossil fuels. But now something's different. Not only are the vast majority of new projects solar and wind, now what we're seeing is existing facilities being shut down long before their predicted useful lifetimes have expired because it's just so much cheaper to just shut them down and replace them with wind and solar. Florida Power and Light just announced they are closing 2 of their natural gas electricity generating plants and replacing them with a solar farm and a huge battery 4 times larger than the biggest battery today. Pacific Gas and Electric in California just announced that they are shutting down a massive natural gas generating plant with 2/3 of its useful lifetime remaining because it's just so much cheaper now to use the sun and the wind. So we've got this going for us, and we've got the people saying we demand this, and the rising generation is demanding a better future, and as well they should, and we've got to respond by giving them a better future. And Governor Andrew Cuomo is responding, and he is fighting for the future. So thank you for that. This legislation, that we've got the two things, you know, and they're both incredibly important. These agreements, this is really historic, but this legislation, I want to underscore the fact that this is the most ambitious, the most well-crafted legislation in the country. It is going to, in the words of some of the analysts, set a new bar. There are a lot of specialists in this area who really know what they're talking about. One of the most respected bloggers in this field, I think he's the best, but I'm biased because he's from Tennessee originally, Dave Roberts from Vox. He wrote about this legislation about being signed. This is the most stringent economy-wide carbon target in the United States in one of the most challenging states. It is a new benchmark, end quote. Now, that's from a non-biased expert who's analyzing this. The 100% clean energy by 2040 target here is the most ambitious of any state in the country. And the investments that will result also, including in disadvantaged and frontline communities, is also a real step forward. Now, so thank you. This is just a great day, in my opinion, because I have to acknowledge to you, I mentioned before, we're gaining momentum. The truth is some damage has already been done. We've got to be candid with people about that. More will be. But we still have a chance. We still have it within our power to grab hold of this crisis and to save the future. We know how to do it. We have the ability to do it. We need leadership. We need new policies. It's great to change the light bulbs, but it's much better to change the laws. We need laws and policies around the world. And if our beloved country, the United States of America, is now at the federal level in the hands of someone who wants to push in the wrong direction, as some analysts said, it's a mixture of malevolence and incompetence, and sometimes the incompetence wins out. But if they're trying to push in the wrong direction, those pushing in the right direction and helping us save the future have to be at the state level, at the local level, in the business sector, at the grassroots. So what you have here in New York State is the kind of leadership that our country and our world needs. Now, finally, these agreements on this wind project, this itself, I've watched these all over the world, and as I said, if you lump the two of them together, it's the largest new initiative of any state in the history of the United States, and almost twice as large as any other state, supporting all the jobs that you have heard about. And now, before I conclude, I want to put this also in context. This is not the first time that Governor Andrew Cuomo has stepped forward to provide leadership when it was most needed. I have watched his progress as governor. I've watched his initiatives as governor. And yes, as he said, we're friends. We've had a chance to work together. We've shared so many laughs and so many good times. I can't tell you about all the things we've laughed about together, but you would laugh too if I did. We really have become extremely close over the years. And I just want to say to you, Governor, I started to say Andrew, I just want to say to you, I'm proud to be your friend. I'm proud that you invited me once again to be here and to be present as you sign these agreements and as you sign this legislation. You banned fracking in New York State, and I congratulate you on that. Phasing out coal completely, right, just within a year. Ban on single-use plastic bags, food waste recycling. I could go on and on. It really is an astonishingly excellent record. And I know the politics of New York State is about as rough and tumble a version of politics as you will find anywhere in the United States of America. I know, I've had personal experience. I've run 4 campaigns in this state. And y'all get at each other and you slug it out and you say, no, this period has to go over here instead of, I get it, okay? But somehow, at the end of the day, this vibrant political culture that is so alive and well in this state yields up and produces results that since the days of Governor Franklin Roosevelt and even farther back have just astonished the country at how things get done. And this governor is making this state and this country proud. And believe me, this legislation and these agreements here today will capture the attention of people all over the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to join with all of you in being a witness. I want to be a witness to the signing of these agreements and this historic legislation. Thank you, Andrew Cuomo.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now sign the agreements and the bill.
Same here back at you.